Just over 3 years ago at 27, I didn't even want to think about this decision, and I sure as heck didn't want to make it. I doubt you're going to want to think about this either, but it's critically important to be talking not only to your family members, but thinking about these decisions because it could save a life. When we are driving a vehicle every day, that it be to and from work, to appointments, trying to get healthier ourselves, we just simply do these things. We've been doing it most likely for years, even decades, and we don't really think about it too much. And when we get chronically ill and have chronic pain, no matter what age this is, we should probably take a step back and think about this a little bit more. And it's something I don't hear talked about enough, let alone talked about at all. Quite honestly, I think there's a reason for that. Not only do we not want to think about it, but it means having to have really challenging conversations with friends and family and with ourselves. It wasn't until late 2020, early 2021, when something really drastic happened after a gym session. I was on my way home. I was almost in a fairly serious car accident that involved only myself, that I realized that it was time to take a step back. It had been a little while since I had driven, and quite frankly, we were in the midst of a pandemic. Things were just starting to open up here. I probably should have thought before I drove that day. Like I said, no one really talks about it. I was feeling completely fine. I was actually having a pretty good day that day. Went to the gym, had my normal exercise regime with my trainer. I was on my way back. Wasn't feeling the greatest, was about 3 blocks from our house when I was pretty sure I was gonna go into a seizure. I wasn't sure if the seizure was gonna start or not. I was losing function in my legs. My vision was getting weird, could barely get the vehicle out of the road in time. The vehicle behind me almost crashed into me. I got it just into the parking lane beside us in time. Thankfully, had Siri to call my husband, who was also working from home at the time, was able to get a hold of him. He then walked to the vehicle and got me out of the driver's seat, got me into the passenger seat, and drove me home. This incident could have ended up so much more drastically. Someone could have gotten seriously injured. There's a children's park 2 lanes over. There's a soccer field on the other side of the road. It's one of those things that, had there been a major incident, had I had a seizure, we have no idea what could have happened. A lot of you may have questions as to why I still have a driver's license because I have seizures. I don't technically have a diagnosis. I don't have epilepsy. I'm still allowed to have my driver's license legally. I'm still legally allowed to drive to this day, almost 3.5 years later. I made the choice as a citizen that I didn't feel comfortable driving massive vehicle that has the capacity of murdering another human being. We drive vehicles that can, in a blink of an eye, maybe not kill someone, but change someone's life forever. And I've personally seen this happen myself, had family members critically injured in vehicle incidents where the driver wasn't paying attention. People who have died at the hands of drunk drivers, people affected by other drivers that just weren't paying enough attention, family members who have lost loved ones due to weird situations. We all know stories. But what if you were the one that was part of one of those stories? And we tell ourselves, I won't be part of the statistics, or it's not that bad, I'm not there yet, I can still drive, things aren't that situation. I was 27 years old when my legs couldn't do it anymore. I waited too long. You have to start realizing that there comes a point where not only does chronic pain, but brain fog, any mental, and when I say mental, I mean anything in your environment that causes any cognitive issues, anything with your limbs, only you can make the decision as an adult in our society that has a driver's license that is allowed by law to drive. They're not going to take your driver's license away. And yes, I sometimes still struggle with the fact that there are a lot of bad drivers out there that I see every single day. I'm like, holy molies, if that person's still driving, why am I not driving? But you can't think like that. Also have to keep in mind that if you were in an incident where someone was critically injured, could you cope with that? Could you cope with the impact that you had on someone else's life? I can't. And so I made the decision to stop driving, and I haven't regretted that decision. And I fully acknowledge that by making this decision, my husband and I have had to have incredibly complex conversations around care, around driving me around. This is not something that's been easy. It's added additional complications to my care, to financial strain. But the reality is I wouldn't have it any other way. I cannot, in my good conscience, continue to drive. Will there be a day where I get back behind the wheel? I can't say no, because there might be. That day's not coming anytime soon, and I don't think there will be a day. If that changes, we'll let you know. I don't think that that's going to be a reality for me. If you are struggling getting from A to B, that it be cognitively, with brain fog, with making decisions, if you've ever had close calls, if you've ever had a situation where you have blanked out, or you're not sure how you got home one day, you're starting to have any neuromuscular issues with your arms, your legs, anything like that, I highly encourage you to start having conversations with loved ones, especially in your home, and start preparing them for the conversations that if you were to stop driving, what would that look like for you? I understand these conversations are not easy. You have to, for your safety, for the safety and the safety of the people around you. It's not just about you. It's about everyone else. When you're driving in a vehicle, you don't even know the vehicles that are around you. If you have the privilege of having a driver's license and a vehicle to get you from A to B, there are other ways. These decisions are not made overnight. Definitely support systems out there, that it be handy transit, that it be taking a cab when family may not be able to help. I speak from a place of privilege that I have a very large support system around me that takes me to appointments and things like that. Sometimes you just have to take the leap. If driving is no longer an option for you, if you have a driver's license and most likely have a car, sell the car. It might give you at least a gap period where you've got enough money to take a cab, use handy transit while you figure out the transition period and trying to figure out these systems in place. There are also a lot of other services that are available. Depending on your region, there are a bunch of different services available. Certain places that have senior support systems or accessibility systems in place to help people with disabilities, to help them get to appointments. It really depends where you live, but look into them. Don't be afraid to use the services that are available to you. The bottom line is, I'm making this video not only to share my story of how and why I made the decision to stop driving, but to allow you, if you were having an inkling of maybe making this choice, but if you have a family member that you unfortunately have seen have a close call, potentially have been in a really, really dangerous situation, or have been part of a dangerous situation, I hope you send them this video to maybe open up a conversation with them and tell them that you're coming from a safe place and that you want to open up a dialogue with them. And maybe you want to help them by being their support system and help them get from A to B in a safer way. I have been too close to so many close calls in my life with family members where things have just been so negative because people do not want to have these conversations. But there comes a point in everybody's life where we just have to have these conversations. And it is hard. It's so challenging to talk about these really tough calls, but we need to be having these conversations with family members. I hope that if you do have one of these situations close to home, that you feel not only the obligation, but the openness to be able to share that with them. I hope this video has been helpful. If you guys have any questions, by all means, leave me a comment down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to slow your roll. If you would like to watch another one of our Let's Talk chats, check one out over here.